Everyone should be able to be called what they want to be called.
Very good point.
If people who are one gender or another want to decide to be a different one, they can decide that. Why can't we pick our name?
It is 2022, so yeah, I'm gonna go with my full name, and that'll.
I might add another part into my name.
Point to the sky with the one up, I'm blessed. I'm young, rich, and black, so you know I'm a threat.
What's up, everybody? Sean Torbati, Ambrosia Collective, here with Ambrosia athlete Alex Michael Turner.
What's up, guys? How are you all?
And today he's going to be my next guest for 3 questions. And these are going to be 3 questions. The intention is for people to get to know you a little better. People who have been following you for a long time might know some of this stuff. Maybe they don't know any of it. But I want to uncover a little bit more. And I want to jump into it with a bonus question. I always make up my own rules. This is my show. Okay. So the first one is, when did you decide to go by Alex Michael Turner instead of just Alex?
This is a really funny story, actually.
Yeah.
If any of you are music buffs out there, or if you follow along with like alternative music, there is a band called the Arctic Snow Monkeys. Have you heard of the Arctic?
No, I haven't.
They're huge in like Europe and UK, which, I mean.
Is that where they're from?
Yeah, they're from the UK, but they have some songs out here that you would hear and kind of go, oh my gosh, yeah, I know who this is. Well, their lead singer's name is Alex Turner. And so when I was starting to, care about Google searches or people being able to find me, everywhere you would search Alex Turner was this, skinny, leather-wearing alternative singer. So I made a conscious decision from the very beginning that I was going to be Alex Michael Turner, and my whole name is Alexander Michael Turner. So it worked out.
So you've been doing SEO strategy since the beginning.
I've been working at it since the beginning. Been placing my pixels well. Yeah. Yes.
That's dope. Okay, so now I'm gonna get that just came to me off the top, because when I tell people like, oh, he's working with us now, it's Alex Michael Turner, and they're like, they call you Michael. If I don't remind them, like they'll be like Mike, because people for some reason your attention goes to the middle, and they want to call you Michael, but Alex Michael Turner.
Well, and I'll throw this out there. I'll be the first to throw myself under the bus, but I think some people hear that and kind of think, why is this guy going by his whole name? Like, it sounds narcissistic, but there's definitely.
But it's not.
There's a reason behind it. Yeah.
And I also think like our names are something where, yeah, we were given one, but like we can kind of choose how to interpret it and how to use it and even change it if we want to. So everyone should be able to be called what they want to be called.
This is a very good point.
If people who are one gender or another want to decide to be a different one, they can decide that. Why can't we pick our name?
It is 2022, so yeah, I'm gonna go with my full name, and that'll be.
I might add another part into my name.
You could always add Lord, Lord Sean Torbati.
That would just be a statement of fact. So, all right, here's my first question. Okay. Now I know from our interactions together, but a lot of people might not know, but you're kind of I'll call it a gun buff or a gun aficionado, someone who's very interested in armory, if you will. When was the first time, I should say, that you shot a gun?
The very first time I shot a gun, I'm gonna call, so it wasn't too far in between, but my very first gun I ever shot was a BB gun, and I was 4 years old, and that was actually a gift my dad had purchased. It was a Red Ryder BB gun, and that was the first gun that it was ever my gun that my parents obviously kept, but he would take me out at 4 years old and we'd shoot cans off of fence posts at my grandparents' house.
How old again?
4.
4 years old.
4 years old. And then I would say 6 years old is when I got to shoot my first 10-22, which was like an actual rifle that, wasn't just a air propelled.
Do you remember that?
I do. I remember that for sure, yeah.
That would seem to be a pretty life-changing experience.
It was extremely exciting, and I remember my dad always made things really fun for us, and so it was never like a bullying or like a hardcore, scary thing for us. It was always a really exciting learning experience with my father. And I mean, we were in hunter safety by 10 years old, taking a full-on class to get our hunter safety permit so we could start pheasant hunting and quail hunting with my dad, which we were doing by 11, so.
As a follow-up, what's your favorite type of gun now these days?
So nowadays,
and I know it's different guns for different purposes, but if you had to choose one.
If I had to choose one, I know I post a lot about handguns because they're just kind of my daily go-to, and something that I have in my hands every single second of every day is a handgun. But I would say my very favorite guns right now are bolt-action rifles. I'm really into the science and the math behind long-range shooting, and that's been a big thing that I've been studying and a hobby of mine that I've really been taking up lately. It's an expensive hobby, so I'm not too far into it as far as what I own as far as bolt actions go. But I'm starting out with it, and it's exciting for me. So I would say long range rifles and bolt action rifles.
If they follow you on Instagram, which a lot of you probably do who are seeing this, you know that on your stories you sometimes feature some cool behind the scenes content of the different guns that you have. Maybe into this year we'll start seeing more like, more explanations, in-depth info, because you have a lot of people like me out there who are interested and definitely in support of our right to bear arms, but don't really know too much about it, and that could be a cool thing for you to teach us.
That's actually a really good thing that, I'm glad you brought up, because I've wanted to do a lot more with it. And I know last year was kind of the first year just with kind of how I think society has started focusing more on the usability of firearms and where they're applicable to everyday life. And there's kind of been more of a divide and more of a curiosity even behind firearms in the last year, 2 years, where I would say things in society have gotten a lot more just wild and chaotic. And with that being said, I think that there's a really mature, responsible way that people can go about promoting that sort of experience for people like yourself.
Yeah.
And then, I think there's always going to be the wild ones who put the crazy content out there that's just intimidating and makes people scared of guns. But no, man, I think that that's something for myself I would really love to hit on more. And so
I think there's actually a need for that, the type of content that gets people kind of like, there's so much content now, it's like so available content for fitness, like how to get started working out, how to do this exercise, that exercise, how to work out, how to eat.
Right,
There probably is content out there, but maybe just not from people that I like or that I know of, to get people to like get an introduction to firearms.
Well, and you're a pretty factual, scientific, you base a lot of things on facts, and I don't see you as somebody who's just going to jump onto the first YouTube video of some guy explaining something and believe it to be the best knowledge or the most, accurate knowledge too. So I think that, when you take people into account who really want to learn the right way and know that there's going to be a gray area with the right and wrong and maybe opinionated types of ways of doing things, I think that it creates a really awesome way to create more of a standard and more of a user-friendly experience for people to jump into that.
I think you could be a guy that teaches us a lot of us, like how to get started.
I would do that.
To do. That'd be dope.
I would love it. Hell yeah.
2022 idea.
Let's do it.
Question number 2. This is my training related question.
Okay.
I'm only gonna ask one.
Okay.
What is your favorite body part to train?
So, although it might not look like it right now, my legs will always be and have always been my favorite. I think that they're an often overlooked body part, but they're also a body part that people joke about and kind of make fun of without really realizing both how receptive and how beneficial training legs are. I know that for me, as a young man in my early 20s even, I saw the biggest amount of lean mass gain naturally from lifting legs consistently.
Totally.
It's a humongous increaser in both free testosterone and IGF levels in the human body. It also adds to just helping your body recover.
And I think to add on that, when you train legs, when you have those, especially when you get heavy or if you do a lot of reps with even a moderate weight, if you're working hard with legs, every part of your body's getting trained and you're exposing yourself to this stimulus, like when you do heavy squats.
Primal.
Yeah, even if 200 pounds is heavy, if it's all someone can do, it's overloading their entire system because you're feeling that weight in every part of your body.
Your core, your entire posterior chain, everything.
When I start squatting heavy and consistently, my whole body changed too. I'm still not the biggest guy, but it put a lot of muscle on my body and made my whole body start to take shape a lot more than focusing on the smaller lifts.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you like you were saying, to trail off that, you see your nutrition absolutely night and day. You see a difference in the way your nutrition is absorbed. You see a difference in your appetite for the better. I think that for a lot of people who start training legs consistently, there's this underlying fear that they may overdevelop extremely fast to a point where they can't stop it, or they may have side effects that might even come from training legs, such as other mass growth that they might not want. And I think training legs is the absolute catalyst to both burning fat and keeping body fat at a minimum while building lean mass or preserving lean mass and not going hypertrophic. It's just one of those things, or catabolic, excuse me. And it's one of those things.
Keeping the
hypertrophy going and not going catabolic, And so I think that for me was what I noticed the biggest was when I would have injury, for instance, and I couldn't train my legs consistently. I saw the rest of my body start to dissolve and go catabolic a lot quicker. It was a lot harder to maintain that lean mass that I'd worked hard for. So yeah, without getting too wild with people, just ensure that you're training legs somewhat consistently, and know that those additional benefits they're gonna come right along with it extremely fast.
And what's your favorite leg exercise or your favorite leg
My
workout?
favorite is, it's gonna make a lot of people mad, but it's a machine exercise. It's quad extensions. Quad and hamstring extensions. I like to superset the both together.
Yeah.
And I'll always say that, like, squats and leg presses and things like that are great. But for me, I like to get very detailed, and I like to be able to do drop sets. I like to be able to do pyramids. I like to be able to do a lot of really specific things with those machines. And I think that over time, squats and leg presses are great for building that mass and that strength and that overall breakdown. But for me, I like to again, be very detailed and methodical and see those individual teardrops and those individual insertion points working how I want.
And you definitely can isolate when you put it with the leg
Oh
extension,
yeah,
leg
you
curl.
can literally shape your leg
Yeah,
how you
definitely.
want,
I think the squats, they might be the king of the exercises in terms of like expressing the strength that you have.
Yeah.
But the leg extensions, leg curls, even like leg press, those are what's gonna, for most people, build the actual muscle they need.
Absolutely. I know you're a squat king. I mean,
Yeah.
you're.
But I love leg extensions too. There's not a leg workout where I don't do them.
Well, and what is your just because I'm gonna totally like brag you up right now, but what's your max squat?
425.
See, and that's insane because you're
180
200,
pounds.
180 pounds.
Yeah.
See, and that for you and even for me, I'm not much bigger. I'm only 195 pounds, but it's like people don't understand that, like, once you start building your legs up, it is not a long-term strength gain. I mean, you can build that strength up pretty quickly if you're consistent. And once you do, you get to that sweet spot of anywhere from 300 to 500 pounds, and you start completely changing your entire anatomical structure.
It will, because it has to adapt to that exposure
Totally.
weight. Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, my last question for you, and this is kind of off the wall.
Okay.
I want to know your top 3 cities in the U.S. They don't have to be in any particular order, but the top 3 cities, your favorite places in the U.S.
So my top 3 cities in the U.S. One is always going to be Boise, Idaho. So I was born right outside of Boise and raised in that area my entire life. I call Idaho home, and that's where all my family's at. And that is just somewhere that, even though everywhere is growing and population is changing, it's beautiful and people are kind, and people are just. They're classic, they're still all about, the nuclear family. They're all about, a good neighbor treating its neighbor right. And it's just something I don't see a whole lot anymore. And I miss it. And every time I get to go back and visit, I really value it, which growing up there, I didn't value it at all. I couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yeah.
But
I feel like home, a lot of times, like the place where we come from or have spent a lot of formative time, it's always going to have a special place for us.
Yeah.
And even if it's not the place we need to be to advance, we still we take it with us, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the people I meet from other places, they are continuing to carry forward, at least the best versions of them, are carrying forward the things that were good about where they're from.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like shedding the things or leaving behind the things that weren't ideal or whatever limitations existed in that place.
Yeah.
And now in their new life, in their new location, they're advancing even further, but still keeping that in mind,
That's really true, yeah. Well, and the next place is going to be funny too, but I know it's very weird right now with all the new things going on in society, but New York City is one of my favorite and will always be one of my favorite cities. I lived there. I lived in Jersey City and New York City, and both of those experiences were just so eye-opening, coming from Idaho and coming from such a small area.
Yeah.
The opportunity it's amazing there. You really are just a number. You're just another person walking on the street, and that was weird for me to see, but the utter just overwhelming nature of the architecture and the amount of just people and the way that life functions there is just, it's cool to see.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to say New York. I had no idea what you would pick. But it's funny you said that. That's on my list of places that I'd like to spend some significant time before I die. Like, be there for like a couple month long period, maybe live there. Who knows? Like,
culture.
Yeah, just really be there. I've been to New York multiple times, but like one of the coolest memories I ever had is when I was maybe like 23. I went to New York to visit some friends, and it was like midnight or 1 a.m. and it was a weeknight. It was like a Thursday or Wednesday. So there was things going on, but it wasn't like a weekend, and it was like January. So it was cold as shit, and like no one was really out. I went for a walk late at night, and I was walking and looking around, and all of a sudden I looked up and I was in Times Square, and I didn't know how I got, like I was just walking around, and I had my phone to walk back. It was crazy, and it was so amazing. Like I've seen this on TV my whole life, and here I am. But I want to be there for at least a month at some point and really just live there.
Well, it's kind of like when you, like for me, even coming to LA was this way. Like you don't realize till you're there how many hole-in-the-wall restaurants and how many just experiences you'll never have enough time to see. And I think that's one thing about the world in general and places like New York that have started intriguing me as I've gotten older is it's defeating because you realize how much cool stuff is really around us, and people just tunnel vision into like these things that they focus their time and energy into. And it's like, dude, there are so many things that people should care more about that they're never gonna get to experience ever. And you know, I think it's a beautiful thing, but it's also kind of a sad thing because when you look at places like New York, like you said, I wish I could just every day, every meal, for a year straight, just go to different restaurants and visit different theaters and just see all the different things that have been there for so long that make it what it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's an old city.
A lot of people would put it up there as the greatest city in the world, or at least on. All right, number 3.
This is a tough one because there's a handful that are right there kind of in the middle for me. But I'm gonna have to go with probably Miami. Not for the reasons of like going out and having like, you know, it be like a party type of place for me, but it's the energy. Miami people for me, South Beach specifically, everyone was always happy. There was a very like Latin Spanish culture there that was just super cool for me to be around. It was really inviting, and I think that when I picture Florida or when I picture a tropical area, like Miami and South Beach in itself are just different. Like they have like a different vibe, like a vacation vibe. And there's something about that I really love. So I know I'm being typical with kind of my Boise, my New York, and my Miami, but like I get enough California that, you know, it's not everything to me that it used to be. It's not like the movies. It's not just this clean Hollywood, you know, landscape. So I would say that when I can get out of here and visit anywhere, it's places like Miami.
I love Miami too.
I can't get enough of.
Can't fault you for that selection.
No, it's great. Yeah.
But those are my 3 questions. I thank you for being on here. Obviously, we do a lot of stuff together. We're gonna keep working on everything. We're gonna level up. Yeah.
Thank you,
But hopefully, you guys got to learn something new about Alex Michael Turner. And if you have any additional questions for him, maybe he'll answer them if you put them in the comments below.
I would love that.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Front to the sky with the one up, I'm blessed. I'm young, rich, and black, so you know I'm a threat.